Circle In, the Family Leadership Center podcast.
We'll provide practical tools and actionable solutions to grow a family where everyone belongs, contributes, and counts.
A peaceful world starts at home.
Hey, Margie.
Hey, Paige. Nice to be with you today.
You too. And we're talking about just one of the most important foundational and also fun things that we teach at Family Leadership Center, which is this idea of belonging. And it is the first C of the 4 C's that we teach. Can you remind us all about the 4 C's?
Sure. So the 4 C's are based on, they're grounded in theory. Betty Lou Bettner, Amy Lou developed these ideas based on the theory of Alfred Adler and individual psychology. And the first C, as you just said, is connect. And it's this idea, Adler called it belonging. And I don't know about you, Paige, but there's so many books about belonging, right? Like people, if I have a bookshelf, I started collecting them just because I was curious about what people were saying about belonging. Yeah. And I have so many. There's just so much thinking about how do I help other people feel belonging? How do I find belonging? How do we create communities that provide belonging? How do we develop schools?
It's a health and safety issue because loneliness is really, 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 really bad for the human body and soul.
Yeah. So this idea that's fundamental need to have belonging that we all have, and we have it from the moment we are born and it stays with us. And it's always, I mean, this is a slight tangent, but it's always bugged me that people say you're born alone, you die alone. I'm like, I don't know who was born alone, but I gave birth to some kids and they were not alone. I'm just going to let you know.
Totally.
I was right there, you know?
Yeah.
And when you die, it's the same. Like, I mean, a lot of times your ideal is to be surrounded by the people that love you. And we're together in these journeys, you know, and there's we're belonging. We're connected, you know?
Yeah. So belonging is not a luxury, right? So only to the extent which a person feels like they belong are they capable and willing to. And you have 4 things that you think belonging helps us do. So can you go over those?
Yeah. One of the interesting things that you can do is when you have belonging and when you have this solid sense that I'm connected, that you are then able to see the needs of the situation beyond yourself. So you're able to see outside of your own needs. When you feel connected, you realize, oh, there's needs for the group. There's needs of you. There's needs of me. There's, you know, there's like the needs of the situation called doing a podcast or, you know, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you can see it's not just all about my needs, getting my thing met in my way. You know, when you have a solid experience of belonging, that's how you can approach the world.
Yeah. And what happens if you don't? What happens if all of your focus is internal and focused on you and your image?
Right. Well, we're seeing that play out in the world right now in a lot of ways. But what happens when you don't have a solid experience of belonging? You're not sure that you're connected. You're not sure if you don't see anything, you can't see beyond your own needs, right?
Yeah.
It's not a good feeling. And you tend to act out in ways like you need constantly to be the center of attention. Like you'll need people to always be making sure. And if they're not, you're still never sure, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the person who has to be the clown or has to, or maybe is sort of in a family,
Helpless.
it could be helpless. Like everybody needs to help me.
Yeah.
They just keep everybody revolving around them in some way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just interesting because it's a balance, right? You can over function outwardly, but this belonging piece is really like it matters that you don't only focus on yourself. It's so healthy that kids start practicing from the minute they come into the world that it's not all about them. So I just think that's interesting. This ability to function fully in society comes from these young years of feeling like you belong and you matter in your family. So that's number one. What's number 2?
2 is that you can contribute to others and express a feeling. And this is an interesting word. It's either a community feeling, social interest, Adler called it Gemeinschaftsgefühl. It's this idea that we're all part of something here, and that if something is good for you, it's good for me, that, we can contribute to each other. And when we do that, it helps the whole, this feeling that we're together, and that experience that I need to be contributing.
Yeah.
And
when we say community feeling, like my mind goes to PTAs and potlucks, but community feeling can be in a family, right? That we're all in a community and we can all contribute and add to it.
Yeah. They say that the first job of a parent or of a caregiver is first to care for the child and to nurture and to teach them to collaborate, like that there's times when you wait and times when you share and times when you're, playing together and all of that. The second job is to turn them out so that they see everybody else in the community and then out into the greater community. So your job is to constantly expand their circle of community and what it means,
Yep. If they're exposed to that, then number 3, what happens with number 3?
Right. That's where you can participate in a give and take. And you can take turns and you can celebrate each other.
What? Siblings can take turns?
Yeah, you can wait your turn. You can have confidence that your turn will come if it's not your turn right now. There's also this thing, sometimes parents get stuck thinking that if they do it for one child, they have to do it for the other, that you have to have this fairness thing. And when you have this sense of belonging, you realize you don't need that because everybody's going to have unique needs and unique times, and that in this family we can support each other and we all support when we're needed. We can get support, but it's not like one person is taking it all, and so therefore I have to count how much I give to one to give to the other.
Yeah,
or they're not cared for or something.
Yeah, the fairness thing that really can derail families. But instead, just we're going to meet the needs of the situation, all belong. And the last one is about resilience. And I know parents want their kids to be more resilient. I hear it all the time when I give talks. Like, they fall apart so easily and they're so emotional and they get really disappointed. How can belonging help with resilience?
Well, when you've got a solid experience of belonging, then you can take things in stride without withdrawing or being judgmental or getting antagonistic or, feisty about it not going the way you thought it was going to go. You can see, you're part of something bigger than yourself, and you can contribute and you can roll with things. And that comes from a solid experience of knowing that you belong.
Yeah, because you feel safe. And you don't have to be defensive, and you don't have to keep score, because defensiveness and keeping score takes a lot of psychic energy. So when a child feels connection in a good way, briefly just tell us what that feels for the child when they're connected in a positive way.
Well, it means that they can reach out, they can make friends, they can cooperate, they can wait their turn.
Love it.
Yeah.
And when children do not feel belonging, because really everybody's listening to help solve problems. So let's dive into the problems of feeling of not belonging. What happens there?
First experience is you think you're isolated, you think, and it's an insecure feeling. And then the interesting thing is that you're more susceptible to peer pressure when you don't have a solid experience of belonging. And that's because peer pressure comes more from within than from without. It comes from not being sure you're enough, so you want to look out to other people and say, oh, do I belong here? Am I doing the right thing in this group?
Yeah.
And when you have a solid experience of belonging, you're like, your anchor is a little different and you're not swayed quite so quickly and easily.
Yeah, they don't need to approve of me for me to feel like they like me. They don't need to approve of every little thing. So, okay, so say accidentally, what are children doing that parents are correcting in a way that probably isn't useful because kids keep doing it, but they could correct it if they focused on belonging? Can you just talk a little bit about what it looks like if you have a little kid and then, like single digit kid, and then what it looks like if you have a double digit kid?
Sure. Okay. Well, you're good with the double digits too, so we can... The thing about knowing, the fun thing about these mistaken goals, these core needs and these mistaken behaviors that kids fall into when they're looking for these needs is that we can know where they are also by how we feel. So let's say there's some antic going on with my 4-year-old, and
like
they're,
interrupting or clowning around at a religious event or being a show off when you're having friends over, things like that 4-year-olds, they do.
Yeah. And like let's give a scenario. Like, let's just say I'm having we have a family event going on. There's a lot of people, and we're celebrating somebody else's birthday or something like that. And then my 4-year-old all of a sudden starts jumping in and wanting to do the one who unwraps the presents, or wanting to be the one who does it all, or wants to make it about them. And it's not really appropriate at that moment. Sometimes it's okay, but that moment, it's time for them to be appreciating and noticing. And you might be thinking, well, that's a lot to ask of a 4-year-old, but I don't think it is. If we can teach them, so we can preempt, and there's a lot of things we can do. We'll talk about what to do out of the moment. But in the moment, let's just say that's happening, and I've like multiple times said, hey, come on, stop. And the child stops for a minute and then goes back and keeps doing it, right? That would be a sign. It's repeated. They've been corrected a few times, and they keep going back. I'm starting to get annoyed. That's a sign, we're missing a solid feeling of belonging. What can I do right now to build this?
So when I feel annoyed rather than angry, it's probably a belonging problem.
Yeah, right.
Great.
It's good to distinguish it from anger, because you're just getting a little annoyed, and you might be tempted to make excuses. Oh, that's just the way he is.
Totally.
Right? Oh, he's
it's
just
transition.
My clown.
He's bad at transitions.
Yeah. He's 4. And then all of a sudden he's 6, he's 8, he's 10, it's just like keep making excuses,
absolutely.
Right? But at some point, we have to give them some training and expect them to be able to step up, So there is a piece of training in all this that we're talking about that's so helpful to kids.
Yep.
But let's assume that, we'll talk about that later.
But
anyway, so you're noticing that you're starting to feel, I'm feeling annoyed. The behavior keeps happening. It pauses for a minute when he gets all the attention, but then it comes back, right? Here's another scenario. I don't know if this is helpful, but let's just say it's like a 6-year-old, and they're capable of tying their shoes and getting themselves out the door when it's time to walk to the school bus. And they are just sitting, like, oh, you do
dawdling.
it. You do it.
We call that dawdling in the biz.
Yeah. Right. So, and so that kind of like slow, kind of making everybody work around you to help you get out the door when you can do stuff.
Yeah.
And
teens
you're not
are good at that too. So teens, that belonging piece can look like just ignoring you. And it also can look like saying yes and then not doing it. That could also be a power struggle. But what it could be, sometimes, teens will defy you or the rules because they don't feel like we work together to make the rule. And so they're like, if I'm not part of it, I'm 17, I'm not going to do what you say, because we need to be connected for the limits and rules to make sense to me. And it doesn't mean do what the teen says. It just means if we can start finding connections, sometimes we can get more cooperation. Not sometimes.
Yeah.
I want to say always you get more cooperation when there's more connection.
When somebody feels seen and feels belonging, it just settles them down. No matter what's going on, it can be really useful to just help somebody see their place in the greater whole and let them know that they're part of it in an important way and they're needed,
All right. So here we are with the 4-year-old at the family party, and they keep on acting like a clown. What do we do in the moment to shift that behavior?
A really nice thing to do in the moment would be to give that little clown a job. So maybe you might pull them over and say, we're about to serve the ice cream. Would you like to go around and find out who wants vanilla, who wants chocolate, and who wants a sorbet? Give them something to do. And then say, and you come and let me know what each person wants, and I'll dish it, and then you can deliver it. That would give them a way to all of a sudden experience they're needed, they have belonging, and they can contribute. And so they don't need to be the center of attention in a useless way,
Yeah.
So that's
employed
give a
people
job.
get into so much less mischief than unemployed people, whether you're 4, 45. And I don't mean even having a job, but just really that useful piece that it matters that you're helping. So we can give them a job. What else could we do?
It could be, there's a really fun one where you can just, without giving them your eyes and your attention, you can just put your arm around them and rub their shoulder, or do a little like squeeze on their hand and just like a little I love you squeeze, or just something to let them know they're seen, they're here, they're needed. It's not like a fierce grabbing them out of the roadway, but but a gentle, yeah.
I used to call it the Vulcan death grip, where you would like their upper arm, but it's really like bringing them in close to you while you're focused on the needs of the situation, which is like, I love you, but I'm not going to be distracted from what it is I'm doing. And most kids, if they are missing just belonging, they will sort of relax and then go about their way and do something different. But the eye contact is really important. You can't give those kids eye contact, because then they laser focus on you and they draw you in, and then you end up in a power struggle.
Right. It's so funny. So your eyes are identifying what the needs of the situation are. So let's say it's grandma's party. My eyes are on grandma and what's going on in the group. But I'm letting you know that you're part of this, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm holding you close, like you matter. But it's not time for me to give all my attention to you. It's time for me to hear what grandma's saying,
And I think with little kids, it's so nurturing, and we don't take the time to do it, to get down to their eye level and talk to them, not make an announcement that other adults and other children can hear, but to get down to their level and say, whisper something like, do you want to go in another room? Or 5 minutes or something like that. It's so, you feel like you belong if someone's more your size and gives you a second. So that can work. There's also a category that's one of my favorites, because I love silly and irreverent. And I think especially in families where it's serious and meaningful, it can just get us out of patterns. And that's called do the unexpected. What were your favorite ways to deal with that lack of belonging when your kids were little?
Yeah, that's a really fun one. Like, you could just all of a sudden dim the lights, or it depends on the experience and where you are and how it works. But you can find something like, maybe if you're talking, you go to a whisper, or maybe a silly one can be to just like lie down on the floor and do something silly,
For
like just be
siblings. Oh, it's my favorite. I just gave that advice at a talk I gave, which is like, you don't know what's going to happen. You just go in, you lay down, and then they come over and they look at you and they're like, what are you doing? And you say, I don't know what to do anymore about the fighting. And then you just change everything up. You did a funny one with a microphone. Talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, a fun one is to pretend like you're holding a mic and say, here we are at grandma's party, and we have a lot of people in the room. What's going on? Let's hear from one person. Tell us how this is, and then you can ask, and you can do an interview, and you can help set the scene, do a little redirecting through something silly, like pretending you're doing an interview or something.
I love it. Then we also have act and distract.
Yeah. So that would be to not give it attention. So what you're actively doing is showing that I'm actively not giving this attention right now. Yeah. So like the antics are going on, and you immediately turn and you go, oh my goodness, I need to go and fix this, and you go over and then you would anybody be able to give me a hand, but like you're just doing something and you're inviting people to change their attention. Yeah. So that antics don't keep getting fed, because every time we go, come on now, stop, please, that feeds it. It's a funny thing, but it seems like negative feeding because we're kind of annoyed with this person, but they're getting seen. And what they're saying by their behavior is, I'm not sure I'm seen here. And if I have to do a lot of things to make sure I belong in this group. Yeah.
What you described, Rudolph Dreikurs, who was he wrote a wonderful book called Children the Challenge. He said that technique was called taking the sail out of their wind. And so you think about the child's behavior as this big gust of wind. And if you just move your eyes to what needs to get done, like you said, Margie, and was like, oh, I have to go over here and do this, and move your big body over there, then all that wind from the 4-year-old, there's no sail. And so it can diminish. All right. So those are some things we can do in the moment. But what I really love about how Family Leadership Center has written the playbook is that you give also out of the moment preventative strategies that parents can use. And it's just this natural, it's sort of like planting a butterfly bush in a garden, that these strategies make it so that you don't need to weed so much because you're growing something beautiful already.
Yeah. So these are the things that you start doing these things. They're not in the moment. So we're out of the moment.
Yeah,
we're not thinking about this
frustrated
scenario.
or annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are thinking, I'm going to take note because I'm seeing somebody showing up in a not useful way a fair amount.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start doing a few things. And so get out your notepad and commit to 4 weeks. For 4 weeks, you're going to start giving this person special time. And that means 15 minutes every day. You're going to designate just for them where you put your phone aside, you put your work aside. You're not trying to multitask. And you sit down and you get into their world with them. And you're just with them. Yeah. You say, I'm going to give you some time. You can plan what we do. Yeah. And, the only rule is that I'll set the timer and it's that long and I'll look forward to it each day. Yeah. And you're just getting to be with them. At first, they might not know what to do. Yeah. But then they will, and they'll really start to look forward to it. And you give a steady diet of that. Yep. All the shenanigans start to fall away.
They really start diminishing for sure. For sure. Yeah. And we'll link to the Special Time podcast because it's this moment that you can, I always said it was like I got to be a grandparent where I wasn't responsible for the moral underpinnings and habits of this child. I could just enjoy them for 15 minutes and not correct them and laugh with them. And it was a nourishing thing. So we've got special time. What else do we have that we can just add in more belonging to plump these kids up?
Well, another big one is starting family meetings. And the idea in that would be in the week before this party, for example, if we're staying with that scenario, you would have talked about what's going to happen. How are you going to contribute? How's everybody in this family going to make sure that's a great event for all the family that are showing up? And what are the rules? Yeah. And we talk about things in advance so you can, you can preempt, right? Yeah. And that's just so helpful.
I learned this from my sister. My sister told me that when we were, I was very shy. And so at weddings, I would just, be shy. And she said to me one time, Paige, your job is that you are having so much fun that the bride and groom wake up the next morning and we're like, that was a great party. So you're not dancing for you, you're dancing for them. And I passed that on to my kids during the bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah season. And I think it takes, again, it makes you outward focused rather than inward focused. And the job is to be fun so that the hosts feel great about it. And that's just one, there are all different scenarios that you can do, but I found that really useful to get over the shyness thing and, chit chat and talk to people. And then I did pass that on to my kids.
That's fun. Yeah. It just makes it, again, what you're doing is helping them realize they belong and you belong in a bigger way. It's not, nobody's looking at you. Yeah. They really want to be, but they want you to be there because you're a contributing member in a fun way. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Talk about chores, because I do think that chores feel like a chore to parents, but there's such a gift. Training children how to do stuff, giving them independence. It is such a gift. I'm not saying it's easy and wrapped real pretty, but how does it help with belonging?
It helps with belonging because it gives you a way to contribute to the greater whole. And that's a way that you can see, oh, I'm needed here. I can make a difference. I can belong, I can contribute. I can do stuff. And it just helps you. There's something about working side by side that's a really fun way to realize, just being next to each other at the sink, doing dishes together,
Oh, it's so bonding to work together on a project, especially at big parties. If you can give people assignments that are, do you guys mind going and picking the daffodils? I see the daffodils behind you, Margie. And you have two people together that may not know each other. Like 6-year-olds could go do this. Oh boy, that is just such a great way for them to both contribute and get to know somebody.
Yes. Yeah. So it's belonging. And we'll do a whole session because it's in the playbook coming up, because it's also a way to grow the second C, which is that I can be independent. I can do things. I can learn and grow, right?
Feel capable.
So
Yeah.
capable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that with chores too. But
Yeah.
giving chores is such a gift. You're right, because it gives you a feeling that I have a way to contribute. In fact, people were talking about dinner parties, and that there was some research about, a friend was sharing about how if you come in and you're invited in the cooking process, it creates an experience where you have a job and a task that stays with you and helps you feel part of the whole thing rather than coming into the perfect finished thing.
You know, I learned that it's so funny. My brother and sister are coming up in this podcast. My brother does that he invites all sorts of people, and it's like soup to nuts. People are participating. People are out in the garden picking, and then everybody's cooking, and then people are cleaning up. And I learned so much about hosting that it's not an imposition. People love to contribute. And starting little, like noticing that they can do it. Then you have on the list, plan activities together. I think adults have the tendency to plan things and then impose those plans on children. So how can planning things together create belonging?
Well, yeah, because everybody's voice is there. You know, you mentioned earlier, if I have a say in what the rules are, I'm more inclined to follow them, you know? And it's the same with if I have a say in how the day goes, I'm more inclined to be on time and be aware and show up in a good way. If I have a say in how it's going to go. So I know some people have this mistaken idea that a loving person figures out everything for everybody and maps it out perfectly, you know?
Yeah.
And actually, I would argue that really loving somebody would be to sit down with them ahead of time and be like, hey, let's map out how this should go. And let's make sure that I know you've got some wishes, I've got some wishes, and we have some needs here. How are we going to make sure that all these things get done? And how can we do it creatively? And it's always way better that way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You have some great sayings, things like so what is it about having the children with their feet on the ground?
Oh, yeah, if you put a little weight on their shoulders. Yeah, so if you give them a little bit of a responsibility and a little job, it helps them stand up a little more solidly and feel a little more grounded, and they know how to contribute and how to be part of it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Belonging is such it's really where the gold is, and it's really where you get to know each other. And I think we sometimes wait to do the connection and belonging piece until we get the dishes done or the socks sorted or the homework finished. And I want parents to experiment with flipping that on its head and spending 5 minutes of doing something silly, a dance party when you come home, and see whether then that, you know, everybody's belonging, and see whether that helps with the other parts of it. What's your last thought on belonging?
Well, something that's staying with me from what we were just talking about is how you mentioned your siblings a lot, and that siblings really matter. And how are we inviting every sibling to have a sense of solid belonging in this family?
Yeah.
I think that if we can think about that and think about these things, and we'll talk about it more in the coming podcast, but just thinking about how, or if you're an only child, how am I making sure that the others in the family and the pets or the friends, that we make it so that there's everybody has a scene here, you know, and how do we give belonging?
Everybody's seen here. I was so like, wouldn't that be great to live in that world?
Yeah. We wouldn't need to be so loud of like, see me, see me, see me. And we wouldn't have to be like, would you turn the volume down, please? And then we could get to playing cards or doing needlework or zoning out, whatever it is. Thanks, Paige. It's great to be together.
So fun.
I hope you found an idea that you can put in your pocket for today.
Yeah, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Circle In, a Family Leadership Center podcast, and visit our website for more inspiration.
And I have to mention, we've got a family meeting toolkit and lots of tools on our website. And so go and check those out and see if it supports your family meeting practice. Because as we say here at Family Leadership Center, peace begins at home. We hope that you found an idea to carry in your pocket for the rest of today.
Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Circle In, the Family Leadership Center podcast. Visit our website for more inspiration and resources.
If you are so inspired, leave a 5-star review. Together, we can widen the circle and create a more peaceful world.
Peace begins at home.